Right, hopefully you can see and hear me. This is obviously just going to be a stream for about an hour as usual. I'm back from work, so obviously I don't have loads and loads of energy to do a stream, but we'll do one regardless because I do on most Sundays now. I'll just shout this out to begin with so I don't forget. If you want to support me, you can either do a super chat in the YouTube chat, you can donate on Patreon, or you can buy the merch below from the Teespring Store. If you're wondering what that looks like, it's stuff like this. I hold up the hoodie. I don't want to wear it at the moment because I'll get too warm, but there you go. Yeah, hello everybody. Hope you're all right. Just thought I'd do that announcement at the beginning. And thanks to everybody, obviously, that does donate or buys the merch, whatever, because it supports me massively. But thank you to anybody that watches full stop, really. So I won't say hello to everybody individually because the list of people coming on and on will be bigger and bigger. And just to obviously say to people, I'm sure a lot of you know this, don't dick about in the comments, because if I don't get that you're joking, or if a mod comes on and just doesn't get it, you'll probably just end up being straight up blocked. So don't ask me weird religious questions, Jacob. I'm sure that's a joke, but, you know, there's your warning. If it's 25 euros for a GP5, definitely not, unless you're in a country where you just can't find masks for whatever reason. But no, that's very expensive for a GP5. Well, there's plenty of videos on me on my channel, aren't there? You mean I was just watching one of your videos, but cool. Otherwise, that was a bit of a weird way of framing it, but hello. So, interesting thing I'll just say at the beginning of the stream while there's people on and nobody's really talking about anything. Also, don't forget to like the stream. I'll mention that now, because there's 23 people on and 8 likes, apparently. So that's not a very good ratio at the moment of likes to people watching. Right, Steve. So, yeah, good thing, Steve. I won the bid on the ECBA I was bidding on. I was going to say to the other people, but you're on, so you'll find that more interesting. So, I think in the end, with postage, it ended up being about 50 quid. And that's with the vest, filler, and the 2 plates. So, yeah, £50 for that's not bad at all. Yep, it's all there, Steve. But yeah, as I was saying, it was just that's why I was sort of at the moment, I was just trying to bid on ones where people were selling a whole lot, because I didn't want to try and, if I didn't win a bid on this one, I think I was just going to end up buying the carrier, you know, and then just buying all the bits separately. All right, Peach? So yeah, obviously I'll be doing videos on that when it arrives. I know that obviously the ECBA plates are smaller than the ones for the Osprey, but I could still probably put it in the Osprey if I wanted to for the sake of doing videos or whatever. When I was looking at the different plates, obviously Osprey ones are a different shape, but they should fit in the same thing, I imagine, because I've got a chopping board at the moment in the front of the Osprey's plate section. Yeah, I know the one you're on about, Nate. It's a creepy looking thing, isn't it? Is that the one, though, that they also have in the load of stalker mods, just as one of the extra gas masks they've put in? I just Google that. Yeah, that is the one. Weirdly, in Stalker Anomaly, which I've been playing recently, now and again you see bandits with that, but I don't think there's a pipe coming out the bottom. Obviously, I don't think it would actually work as it's shown in game, but it's literally that exact mask just being worn by bandits with a trench coat. Now, am I right in thinking that because that's made by Germans, the leather for it came from dogs? Because that's the very, you know, thing about German World War One masks. I know it's a World War Two mask, but German World War One masks, people were saying, are apparently made from dog leather. Because the dogs, they do not sweat, so we will skin them, so are gas masks. No, I don't play Minecraft. Because Jesus, as I've said loads of times, America has an export ban on masks and other military surplus, meaning if you don't live in the United States, people can't sell it to you. Of course, like all laws, those get broken all the time. But it means if you see something being sold on eBay in the US, if you tried to buy it, customs in America would stop it going through because you can't legally buy it, or the person selling you it, you can't legally ship it, whichever way it works out. I'm pretty sure it's the person shipping it that will get into trouble. But it's basically, it's kind of like a Protection of Secrets Act thing that's been around for like years and years, and they've never got rid of it. Yep. What Chris says, ITAR is a load of shit, which is the actual name of it, isn't it? But it's basically saying you can't buy military surplus International Traffic in Arms Regulation. There you go. What they mean by that is any kind of milsurp is stealing American secrets. So you can't. If it's a World War II M1 helmet, very good. If it's any other period from the Cold War M1 helmet, mediocre price. If it's a US M1, that's not an awful price. If it's a clone of an M1, that's a pretty awful price. It really depends. Like World War II M1s are worth a lot. As the years go on for US M1s, they're worth less and less. And obviously, like other countries that just did copies of the M1 are pretty much worth less, not in the sense of being, not like priceless, but they're worthless, as in, they're like a £20 helmet. Because I've got a Norwegian copy of the M1, I think it is, that Norway built under license at one point. Again, they're like dime a dozen helmets, because, no, I don't play Fortnite. I have no idea what you're on about, Frosty. Most pencil sharpeners I've seen are steel. As in, like, just a stainless steel razor blade kind of thing in a case. The pewter mask I have. That Chinese one that I'm not going to get out. Also, let's see if any of you are clever. Yeah, again, Shackleton, there might be some nations' copies of the M1s that are worth a bit, but most aren't, because most of them are just mass-produced helmets. See if any of you get the mug. If it focuses on the mug. It's not going to focus, is it, bloody thing? It's not Dr. Pepper. Mike's come on, he gets it. Well done, Mike. Yeah, it's annoying because the text isn't going to focus, is it, with the camera? So it says Dr. Shipman. It says, what's the worst that could happen on that side? And then on the other side, trust me, I'm a doctor. Yeah, I saw that by accident, I think, when I was just looking at something to do with Harold Shipman on Google Images, and then I found the Etsy page selling offensive mugs, and I thought I'd want to get one. So I'm not drinking out a merch mug tonight, I'm drinking out a Shipman mug. Tastes like diamorphine. Yeah, not a bad way to go, though, is it, Steve? But yeah, like you're saying, Steve, that's quite interesting, isn't it? But yeah, like I suppose it would be good for that. But yeah, like I was saying, it'll be quite interesting when I get the ECBA, comparing it to my Osprey, because although I don't have the plate in the Osprey, I'm quite interested in seeing, without the plates in them, how much each vest weighs and how comfortable they are, because I bet you I will like the ECBA more, because I've always liked the, more, although it's not a covert piece of body armor, is it? It's still overt. I like the more slimline body armors that allow you to move easier in them. Yeah, this was just from Etsy, Richard, where I don't think they have a problem with people selling offensive shit on Etsy. Ooh. Yeah. The thing is diamorphine and morphine actually bitter? Because codeine's bitter, but are those two bitter? I don't know. But codeine's very bitter. It's like really, really bitter. So much to the point that it's funny when you hear somebody say, oh, I like bitter things, and when they try codeine, they're just like, no, that's too bitter. Or is that like a hide and seek one? There's a Joseph Fritzl one as well on there, where it's like basement renovations by Joseph Fritzl. And there's also, I think, like Garden something by Fred and Rose West. But, the stuff like that I find quite funny. Obviously, that's because I have a dark sense of humour. Just to make it clear for anybody that doesn't know, I obviously do not endorse the work of serial killers or anybody like that. But there's a lot of stuff like that that I find quite funny in the sense of dark humour. Depends what standard. Museum size is. No, it's tiny, Jesus. If you mean by what most people would have in a collection of things, pretty big. Because there aren't many, collectors of a lot of milsurp who just have it in a house that gets this big, I'd imagine. Probably because they're more sensible than me and don't waste as much money and space on it, to be perfectly fair. Obviously, once you get to the people who can literally buy warehouses and then just buy loads and loads and loads of armoured cars and line them all up in a warehouse, like lots of private tank collections I've been to, but they obviously have a lot of money to do that. Because, obviously I'd do something like that with my collection if I could. I'd just do it as a private museum. where you could just get loads and loads of mannequins, put all the gear on mannequins and all that stuff. But obviously, I've got no way of affording that. I don't know if they use lead on M1 helmets or not, Nautilus. How are you? How's life? Well, unfortunately, my ulcerative colitis has been flaring up again. It was quite bad earlier, but the pains receded quite a lot again this evening, but I'm bleeding internally again, so that's not great. What I'm going to do, though, is I've booked a doctor's appointment now, and I'm going to see if I can get my GP to change me back to a painkiller he had me on a while ago that's not an opioid. Because for those of you that don't know, is that with UC, that's chronic pain it causes, and they have to be very careful what painkillers they put you on, because like aspirin and NSAIDs can kill you. So I basically can have paracetamol, or I can have really strong drugs, but I can't have anything in between, which is a stupid thing. So at the moment, they've had me on opioids for a while, but before that, I was something called Nefapam, which isn't a very well-known painkiller. Nefapam gave me a whole shitload of side effects, but it was a very, very effective painkiller, and you don't develop a tolerance to it. And the problem is, at the moment, I'm developing more and more of a tolerance towards opioid painkillers, so I want to say to the doctor, can he take me off opioids and just put me on Nefapam again? And I'm just going to put up with like the nausea and that as a side effect, because at least it will be a much more effective painkiller and there's not an addiction risk with it, or at least a much smaller addiction risk. Also, don't forget to like the stream, everybody. I'm pointing up there because that's where the likes show up on my screen, but 29 watching, 22 likes. Thanks, TJT. I mean, the problem is with chronic illnesses is you don't really feel better. You just have good and bad days, but that's strange. Can you buy any industrial masks in Greece that are a decent price? I don't know. Is it like something weird like the Greek government, because of rioting over all the austerity stuff, banned gas masks for civilian sale? Is it anything like that? Or is it just like nobody sells them? Yeah. GM44. I don't know. When you say GM44, do you mean the Volksmask 44 Frosty, like the one I did the video on today? Do you mean, when I say the video on today, I mean the video I filmed over a month ago that went live today. But do you mean this mask, the VM44? This one? For some reason, I had a couple of people saying this mask looks like an S10 in the comments. I really can't see it. Maybe if you had a tiny thumbnail that was an image for ants, you could think this is an S10. But I do not see how in any way this looks like an S10. It's a VM44, but yeah, if you're saying it looks like a mask, yeah, it definitely looks more like a C7 than an S10 Shackleton. Well, I think that's because both of those are pretty much designed as super cheap civil defense masks. I mean, yeah, get this mask, make it out of rubber, put a slightly different looking exhale valve on it, and then just have the filter permanently attached to the mask. And yeah, there you go. You've got a C7 pretty much, haven't you? Same sort of strap system as a C7, actually. That's weird, isn't it? Just weird coincidence. No, because Jack, to fix the PPM88, I'd have to disassemble all the metal parts on it to get at the diaphragm bit and then get a replacement diaphragm, although you could probably make a DIY replacement diaphragm very easily with just a bit of celluloid that's thick enough cut out or whatever. The issue is that where I'd have to take that ring apart, I think there's a lot of issue of kind of permanently breaking bits of the metal to do that. And I'd never end up using the GP7 properly anyway, sorry, GP9. So, if I wanted to use it in videos for the sake of dress up, then it's fine. But, I almost can't be bothered to go to the effort of doing that because there's another bit of plastic that's broken on that mask as well. Right, Mike? Right. My opinion's changed a bit, Steve, because originally when I heard about it, I thought it was one of those pointless upgrade programs because they were basically getting a bribe from an American company to sell out more British industry to just buy American equipment. But Chris was actually saying a lot of it is better equipment than I thought. So if it is genuinely good infantry armor and that, like the helmets and the body armor, then that's good. If it's the best possible protection for the troops, then obviously it's good that they're buying the best stuff possible, even if it's not a British company that makes it. But, again, with all that sort of stuff, if it is a case a bit like the Scott GSR compared to the Avon M50, where it's literally there is shady business interests of the people procuring the equipment compared to the people it's actually going to be used by. But by the sound of it, from people who know more than me on it, it does sound like it is just genuinely very good armor. So then I wouldn't have, that sort of problem with it. And I think also a lot of my opinions came out on it before people had started getting it on the surplus market. But now more and more surplus collectors are getting it. They're saying it's actually quite good stuff. Yes, I do, Jesus. And that's one of the things where I actually don't think you should be allowed kids if you have that sort of opinion, as libertarian as I am, because you're endangering your child. The thing is, if you were the sort of person that said, personally, I don't want to have any vaccines for myself, that would be totally fine, because it's your life that's at risk. When you put other people's lives at risk, like your children, you deserve to have your kids taken off of you at that point, because it's just basically child endangerment, isn't it? What are people on about? About politics? What? That wasn't related to that? All right, let me read your comment, Richard. Yeah, hopefully, Richard. I was saying, I'm hoping I don't have any problem. My appointment's for like 2 weeks' time, because I could get a couple of the sooner appointments, but they weren't on very convenient days for me. So I thought I'll pick a day a couple of weeks down the line on the website where I can actually see my regular GP at like an early time of day, so I don't have to wait ages, where I can see the GP in the morning. If he sorts me out a prescription, any of the pharmacies locally should have it by the afternoon or the next day. But the only thing that's annoying, well, I hope it's not annoying, but because I was previously on that medication, had some side effects, and they took me off, I'm hoping that they don't go, oh no, you didn't get on with it before, so we can't give it you. I don't know if they'd say that, but that's the only thing I'm worried about, because then I'm stuck, not being able to have a medication that's probably more suitable for me. I do have a Discord server, Jesus, and it's for people that donate money. I haven't seen any of your previous young rail enthusiast things. So I think they must have deleted. So the revision combat system needs a revision, Chris. That's kind of funny. But it's nothing like GSR levels, is it? Like this falls apart and that falls apart. Lots of the armors were delivered without plates in or something similar. All right, see you, TJT 101. All right, Lewis. Have you changed your profile picture, Lewis? Because I can only see like a picture that small on my screen. But did you used to have a car, like a NASCAR type thing, as a picture? Now it looks like a jet or something. I can't make out what your picture is because it's so small. Yeah, I think it's one of those things, Steve, that in a couple of years it's probably a good price. But like the main thing that interested me was Chris was saying helmets are actually like the US thermoplastic ones. Is that the ACH? Or is it the ECH? Enhanced Combat Helmet or Advanced Combat? It's the ACH, isn't it? The current US one. Which is kind of a Pascat-looking helmet, but it's made from thermoplastics, not Kevlar. Oh, well, English Electric Lightning, very cool plane. It's the same kind of looking nose, doesn't it, as a MiG-21, the Electric Lightning. But, yeah, very cool plane. But sadly, from your tiny picture, I can't see it as Electric Lightning. I can just vaguely see its plane shape. Well, bits of it are expensive, but again, it depends what you mean by expensive. Because I was saying earlier, if you had people that literally buy warehouses for private museums and fill them with armoured vehicles, and no, it's nowhere close to being expensive, is it? Favorite NBC suit? Out of all the ones I've got, probably the Polish Fu-1 suit, which is kind of like, an activated charcoal fabric one in the Polish camo. I forget the name of. I think it's WZ something, and it's like the Polish woodland camo that they've only started changing recently, or looked into changing recently, that they had in the 90s. So it's just a very high quality, like what the British Mark IV suits are like that. It's like that, but just much higher in quality. In terms of like just for practicality and price, my favorite NBC suit is that one where I've just got the Polish L1 suit's top half combined with fishing waders. WZ93, that's it. I should be able to remember that, shouldn't I? Because of the 93, but Pop-Tarts are like really rare in the UK. Very few places have them, and I've only tried one flavour, so no idea. Out of all the ones I've seen of the modern Russian masks, the PMKS is the one I've seen that I really like the look of, but the only modern Russian mask I've got is the ROU. If you don't know which one that one is, I filmed a video on this, but it's going to be like a month before you guys see it because all my videos are so far in advance. But this is like a lightweight fabric mask that's like a similar design to the PTM in a lot of ways. So that's the only modern Russian mask I have, the ROU. Normally it's just due to shipping prices or postage. Unfortunately, so many people who sell these sort of masks online want to charge you like £30 to £50 postage, which is extortionate for posting something that weighs like 300 grams. But yeah, if ever I see postage prices for a decent amount of some more modern Russian masks, I get them. But sadly, it seems lots of Soviet stuff is reasonably priced for both the price of the mask and postage. As soon as it's like stuff post-Soviet, it suddenly like the prices just go whoop. Now, I know which one you mean, Jack. I really like the look of that, but I don't have one. I think sometimes those are quite cheap on eBay, or at least like when the Warsaw Pact copies of those, but I've never bothered getting one. Yeah, like I said, I've had Pop-Tarts before, but it's not something I'd repeatedly buy. And they were very expensive. I think you got like 2 Pop-Tarts for like £3 or something when they first came over here. Like proper rip-off price. No, I've never really looked into them, Steve. Let me Google it now just to get an idea what you're on about. Oh, and of course I can't Google it from things because thank you, YouTube. No, I have not got anything like that. So, no. Some of these are weird because some of the grab bags you see coming up just look like general kit bags, and then others just look like a mag pouch with a strap put on it. So it's very strange. You know, like you'd have on a carrier like that, and then. Yeah, the only thing we have with that mic where I am is like the 101 111 thing, whatever it is some of the issues of that is they basically just tell you to go into A&E or they tell you to wait and see a doctor in my area. That we have like a clinic that's for certain things that aren't meant to be A&E stuff, but whenever I've gone up there, I haven't been all that many times, but I'd say 9 out of 10 times, even though I don't think I've even been to this place 10 times. But, you know, like only one time I think I've actually been seen for something there. A lot of the time you go in with some sort of minor injury that isn't an emergency, but it can't really wait, especially if it's on weekends when our doctor's surgery is closed. You go up there and they say, well, we don't have a doctor that deals with this kind of illness, so we can't do anything for you, bye. That's interesting, Steve, yeah. The comment you just made, Chris, is showing up, but I don't think I've seen any for a while. No, I've got on live chat as well, not top chat. So I've not seen any comments saying about the recall, which I did respond to. So if you've made anything in the interim, it's not showing up for me. Whether or not it shows up for other people, I don't know, because YouTube chat is stupid where they just censor words randomly in live chats. And it's not me hiding them, it's YouTube. What seems a very odd question, Nautilus. I'm just going to warn you, Nautilus. I've had a lot of comments from you recently that are very odd comments. So I don't want to sound like I'm getting suspicious of you, but I kind of am. So I'm just saying in general, be very careful what you type in the near future, just because you seem to keep asking strange questions on a lot of streams. Vince, I just bought on D&D Militaria, which is a site that sells deac things. So it's real but deactivated. Soviet gear can really vary in quality and price. Again, price, when it was originally made, a lot of it was made to be cheap, so that was not an issue. If you mean surplus prices of it now, it can really vary. And like when it comes to Soviet respirators or whatever else, gas masks, blah, 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 the quality of them can be all over the place. The GP7 up there, let me turn the camera up. The GP7 that's up there is kind of like one of the last gen of Soviet gas masks. All right, it's just like I said, you just randomly brought that up for no reason. That's why I'm just a bit thing. But we're not really talking about him today, are we? You know, thanks, I guess, but not sound like a cunt. But anyway, going back to the GP7. The GP7 was one of the last generation of Soviet masks, along with the PPM-88 and all those. I really don't like it. It's technically more advanced than something by the GP5 that's right behind me by like a mile. But the GP5 is a lot more durable, in my opinion. The problem with things like the GP7 is they're kind of over-engineered. And the Soviets never did stuff well when they over-engineered it. No, it's not Russian Federation. They still make it, but obviously 88 was the year it was originally made, as far as I'm aware. They definitely were still around in the Soviet Union period. And the Russian Federation didn't happen until the early 90s. What was that about? Oh, it's asbestosis was it depends on how severe your asthma is. My asthma is very mild. Like with my asthma, basically, just to show you've got an inhaler here, just so I'm going, oh, I have asthma when I don't. My asthma can get, it's more irritating and like it's very, very, very rare I will have an asthma attack to the level I feel like I'm in danger of anything. Generally, for me, my asthma is a lot more of an inconvenience than anything else. And my asthma always seems to be set off if dust or something like that gets down me. So it's more like an allergy thing for me that triggers it. But then it's until I use my inhaler, I'm not like at a proper lung capacity. That's interesting, but yeah. The issue I have on the GP7 is it's a bit like the PMG, isn't it? Where the rubber's quite thin and flexible, so the weight of a filter on the side, at least the GP7 has a metal filter ring on it. You can't see it because it's on the other side of the mask, close. I'm pointing to it, but at least the GP7, the filter ring is metal, unlike the PMG where it's just rubber, so it flops horribly. But yeah, I generally don't like masks where the masks aren't rigid enough, because while a lot of people find them comfortable, the issue I have a lot of masks that are designed to be quite flexible is if there's any of the weight that isn't done around the chin area, and even so on the chin area, if they put like a front-facing filter or a side-facing filter, the filter always seems to pull the mask away from the face. That's interesting. KPF pilots one. Let me look it up. Sadly, none of the results coming up are relevant. I assume it might just be spelled slightly differently, but never mind. I could definitely believe that, because I've seen some interesting... the weirdest one I have, Chris, you might have seen videos on it, but I have that weird Sieb Gorman mask, and it's one where apparently the MOD demanded it from Sieb Gorman. Like, they paid him for it and everything, but they demanded a mask where the MOD apparently didn't know what features they wanted in a mask for tank crews or like armoured personnel crews. And then they basically had this mask that they couldn't do anything with until the point they just surplused all of them. But yeah, it's like, let me try KPL, but it's like one of those sort of things where they made a mask that looked like it could have been a really good mask if it was designed actually properly as a 40mm mask, but they designed it with a 40mm thread, even though it was meant to be for airlines or something stupid. Some balaclavas are coming up for some reason, but PFL, is it that? There's one coming up called the PFL, which, yeah, I can see the similarity. It's like the same bit, but the lower section is different. But if it's the PFL, that will be the one. Well, here's the weird thing. Apparently, they basically got Sieb Gorman to do... it's literally one where you need a powered respirator. You need like an air tank on it in 40mm, or a powered, filter thing, PAP or whatever it's called, to make the mask work properly, because it's got a pressurized exhale seal that won't work under your own breath. That just fogs the mask up horribly. But from what I can understand, because there's like no info on this mask online, is that the MOD basically wanted one of Steve Gorman's firefighting masks, but made him 40mm NATO, but they didn't want the valves done any differently than the firefighting mask, so it was basically unfit for service. But yeah, from what I can understand, they never saw any use, because basically, a while ago on eBay when I bought mine, there was like one of those companies that resells police body armor and all that sort of stuff, and then they just had hundreds and hundreds of them all suddenly in at once, all like brand new with all the stock numbers and everything. And again, it seems like, let's buy something without really knowing what it does. No, I don't have a PO box. Okay, which stab vest are you on about? Just the standard police one I've got. That one is... It doesn't have any spike resistance as far as I'm aware, other than what's offered by a standard stab resistance. It's stab one knife, so stab and knife one, no spike. But you can obviously buy fillers for spike protection if you wanted to. But it's Kevlar 3A, which we found out in the last stream, front and back, and it was £40. So for a vest that was a few years old, for a Kevlar 3A vest, front and back in very good condition for like 40 quid, that was a bargain. But let me have a look at a 40mm regulator. I think I know what you mean. It's like one of those things that connects, isn't it? And of course, Google doesn't want to show me anything to do with a mask. And now all the things coming up are... Yeah, so it's the bit that screws into the filter port that then lets you put an airline on it. But yeah, the problem is, though, there's no point using the filter port because it's not set up properly with the valves. So you'd literally need the airline or the mask won't work. Because here's the thing. You can take the dust cover off and that's about it. But it won't fully disassemble because it's deactivated, it's welded shut. Oh, okay, that's good, Mike. Thanks for letting me know. Well, I'll let you know closer to the time if there's one day that week that works out way better than another or whatever. When you say host thread, do you mean GOST? Modern Chinese filters are GOST, yes. Here's the problem, Chris, I think, with that MOD mask, the Steve Gorman one. Well, when I say MOD, I mean the one the MOD obviously demanded. Is what I think the MOD probably wanted was that mask, but set up so you could use it with 40mm filters or the airline in the same port. Oh, so the valve actually goes in the regulator. Then that would probably fix that thing. But then the problem is, if you've got that valve in the regulator, then you can't put the 40mm filter on it, can you? Because see, this is what I think the problem is. I think that mask would probably, normally have a valve there if it was ever made like a regular respirator. But from what I can understand, they never did that. And from what I understand, they never saw any use either. It seems to me kind of like one of those, we need a mask for something, so let's contract. And it was made right when Steve Gorman was going down a shitter, wasn't it? Before they, sadly went bust. So was it, let's give Steve Gorman a contract just so they've got a contract? Or was it, let's design something nobody needs? I mean, I could be completely wrong, and maybe it did have some legitimate use. With pretty much every other mill thing that ever saw service anyway, you can find pictures and info about it, but this thing you can't. I don't mind getting it out on a video at some point if you want to have a better look at it. But it's just a shame there's like no info on it. And again, like you said, there could have been some proper use for it, because I don't really know about, self-contained breathing apparatus setup, because I don't want to personally mess about with anything like that, especially with the air tanks or the rebreather kind of stuff. So it could have been a bit like that, like where you say it was used as a rebreather, but it's strange. I mean, it wouldn't work as a rebreather because obviously it has an exhale valve on it. It's just there needs to be a certain amount of pressure in the mask for the exhale to work. But obviously it could have had air supplied to it from an air tank, I guess. And it's weird that it has, like, the exhale valve that works under air pressure. I was saying, that's the most likely thing, Steve, that, yeah, you attach it to an oxygen tank, and then you use it that way. But like I said, the weird thing is, obviously, it was a mask that was originally designed to work on a standard airline with an oxygen tank because it was a firefighter's mask. But then the MOD had it put in 40mm NATO. So it seems a bit redundant if they have the mask put into 40mm NATO to then use a regulator that goes back to that same airline kind of connection anyway. Do you see my point with that? Even if they did that, you're kind of adding something onto the mask to go back to what the old mask was that you've specifically said we want this mask put in 40mm. I'll tell you what, I'll finish my coffee and then I'll get that mask out because it's in the cupboard, but I think I can get it without digging too much stuff out because I tidied it up recently. No, your Pro Mask comment didn't show up. That one you just said came up, Chris, but not the previous thing, if that was a previous thing. Your last comment that shows up was even proper SCBA masks don't have valves, or regs tend to have them. Well, the thing is, it doesn't have both connections, and I said it won't work as a standard respirator because the valves aren't set up to work as a respirator. It will just fog up. Let's get the crossbows out of the way. There we go. I'm pretty sure I've got it in this Alpenflage bag. Super sexy Alpenflage. M4GP. Yeah, here he is. I can give you the model name of it if you want to look it up as well. It is a Sieb Gorman BM13E18. There we go. So there's the voice diaphragm, pretty straightforward. There's your 40mm port with a washer in it. But as I said, no valves in there. It just goes straight into the mask. There's your exhale valve with the pressurized thing on it. So when the air pressure builds up enough, it will let you exhale. Otherwise it won't. But yeah, it'd be really interesting to find out more on this. I just could not find any info at the time I bought it. All I could find was a couple of things that listed, the MOD buying it for like vehicle crews or something like that. Because you can actually see on the rubber there, that's where on the original mold, the firefighter's airline went in. Because I managed to find pictures of the firefighters, like older variation of this. And then, for whatever reason, the MOD basically wanted it done with a 40mm port. Because the thing is, it would make sense to me, like we're saying, I know we keep going on about this mask, which is a bit boring to people that have no interest in this mask. But it would make sense to me if they actually put a valve in there. It has a screw, but it doesn't seem to do anything. You can tighten and twist it, and it doesn't do anything. Let me have just a play about Bing, just in case that actually does do anything, because there is a screw there, you're right. So that's the cover on that side, and then, yeah, this is the screw you're on about, Bing, but I've tried messing with that, and it doesn't seem to do anything at all. No, there's no thing I can see about the Pro Mask. Oh, wait, hang on. Wouldn't have been designed for APR use. The mod can be really weird, stuff like that. We were going to use the Scott FPR for SPR, but it's the Scott Pro Mask fit SPR. Are you saying it would or wouldn't, as in question mark, Chris? Yeah, I'm just trying to look at that screw thing in there. Because there's definitely is like a valve on that, but like like a screw, but it just doesn't tighten on anything. It's more like a hex, like almost like a washer where it just spins on itself. And again, like I said, that's, if you want to see, that's just the thing that's basically on a spring kind of system where if you use it with a powered air pump, what will happen is it will slam shut on its own. Opens or whatever, because the stuff builds up. If you're wondering what this is, it has an inflatable face seal thing, a bit like the S6. But the thing that came with it was really, really shit. So when I opened it up and adjusted the thing, it wouldn't go back in properly. So I ended up having to cut the rubber to put it back in and then put plumbing tape on. That is a spring, yeah. But yeah, if this mask, right, it would be a really cool mask if there was an easy way of adjusting that so it just opened like a normal exhale valve without, taking the mask apart and damaging it or anything. Because basically this mask from the inside is a really kind of cool respirator, quite a cool panoramic lens one. And the rubber on this is really bloody durable because essentially these are built as firefighters masks, so it's meant to be heat resistant rubber. and they obviously just got like a slight variation made of it for MOD use, for whatever it was actually for. But yeah, there's nothing in that should be in my blocked words list. So again, it's YouTube being very strange. There was somebody the other day, I had to approve every one of his comments, although there was no bad language at all in his comments. He was making really helpful comments to people that were asking questions, even though I'd already answered them, whatever, on that video. But YouTube, for whatever reason, decided, no, this guy's comments are all held for spam, even though he was just leaving helpful comments to people. It's like sometimes I really wonder what goes on with the YouTube comment system. What's that about surplus stuff that Steve was saying about to somebody else? I mean, yeah, that would kind of make sense, Nate. But again, like I said, I've never seen things, and from what I've read, as much as that source might be wrong, I think it was a couple of surplus sellers that actually got these in stock when they were all decommissioned. Said it had something to do with vehicle crews. It said, like, NBC mask for vehicle crewmen. Again, that could all be bollocks. They could all get that completely wrong. But yeah, it's very strange. And that's definitely 40mm NATO Lafred, because I've tried it with different filters, and the 40mm NATO ones fit fine, make an airtight seal with banana oil. It's just the mask will start fogging up because it won't exhale unless you put a powered respirator on it. Oh, FP5 filters, yeah, because they're military filters. Sorry, I didn't see the previous comments. I was just a bit confused what you were talking about. The thing that I was saying to Mike that's really weird, so I'm doing a stream now. It wasn't really announced or anything, this stream, but a lot of people know I stream at this time. So I've got 60,000 subscribers now, and currently we've got 24 people watching, right? There's a channel I subscribe to, but he's not even monetized. His video's very good, but he's like one of those channels that uploads a video maybe like once a year. And he's got like 12k, 15k subscribers, something like that. He went live yesterday, just sort of as a live stream test, because obviously he doesn't live stream. And he consistently had like 150 people watching. Now, I know it's possible that maybe he embedded the video somewhere, but I don't think he actually would have done, knowing the sort of person's channel and the videos he makes. So I find it really inconsistent as well, with like the amount of people you get watching a live stream compared to the amount of people you think you get watching a live stream. Yeah, maybe it's like they super recommended his stream because he doesn't stream much or something. I don't know. Yeah, we know somebody made a scuba mask making a GP5 because you keep saying it. But all they literally did was just put an airline into the bottom of a GP5 filter and then, use tape to seal it in. You could do that in theory with any mask. The issue is, obviously, if you went below a certain depth, I imagine the valves would just totally break on the GP5 doing that because it's not designed as an underwater mask. I don't know who Alien is, but if you mean aliens, well, they probably exist considering the size of the universe. Very much could be, Steve. But the thing is, though, there's still other channels I see that have more subs than me that aren't weapons channels. They do live streams sometimes, and they get even less people watching than me, or about the same number. So I just really don't get it with YouTube. Because the thing that would make the most sense to me is with the amount of people watching, if it had any relevance to the video being embedded somewhere, because that would make sense. But it just seems like now and again, you'll see a live stream being done by quite a small subscriber-based channel, and they get loads and loads of views. Also, another thing with YouTube is that they obviously don't. This is what a lot of this YouTube Union stuff's trying to do at the moment, is they don't really publicly tell you a lot of the rules. So they basically very vaguely say, do this, don't do this. But they won't explicitly say what they want you to do or not do. So, again, it's like, oh, so we can ban you really easily if you do something that offends us, kind of thing. Yeah. I'll tell you what my recommended videos are at the moment, shall I? And we'll see how many of those are channels I'm sub to or I would watch. Well, at the moment, though, they've got quite a good thing where if you watched a video all the way through recently, it says, what did you think of this video? And you can give it a star rating. You know, backlight you used to be able to do on YouTube years and years ago, just saying, rather than thumbs up, thumbs down. And you can like say what were the good or bad things about this video, which obviously seems to help with the recommendation system. Right, recommended. Right, I'll tell you ones on here that definitely aren't related to anything I've watched recently. Angry French bulldog on diet throws tantrum for not getting food. As I said, I'm only doing the ones that aren't relevant, because obviously something like if I watched a thing on a certain video game and it's a review for a similar game, I can understand why doing it. Something about meme updates, people chatting about memes on a live stream. Why would I want to watch that? Oh, and 3.1k people watching. So yeah, 3.1k people watching a video about memes on a live stream. Right, okay. African Grey acting like a baby. So another animal video. Flash Gordon. That's obviously relevant because I like the soundtrack to it. Politics videos, which I never watch on YouTube other than ones from a couple of channels where I just want to hear certain people's comments on something. Stuff about Nintendo, even though I've not had a Nintendo console other than the Game Boy Color. So I don't watch Nintendo videos, but YouTube's recommending me that. Recently uploaded recommended videos for you, a channel called Good Bad or Bad Bad, which I don't even know what that is. Stuff about martial arts and esports. I don't watch any videos related to that. The only thing I watch related to martial arts is the things about the fake ninja people that used to scam people, because that's funny. More and more politics videos, despite the fact I do not watch anything related to those politics videos. Videos on cats, dogs, and ferrets and bats. And when I scroll down further, there's actually videos from the channels I'm subscribed to. So isn't it weird that I have to scroll down half a page, basically, to see recommended videos from channels I'm subscribed to, rather than YouTube recommending me, like, esports streams and stuff like that? I take it, Steve, they are all separate videos. Like, it wasn't about a guy using a DIY chainsaw that turns jewellery into gold bars, and then, like, they do stuff versus high-pressure tank. Just because it'd be funny if it was all one video. But I'm assuming it was just a mix of things. Alright, see you, XSplits. Don't you think that guy's quite creepy, Mike? Not Frank Dukes or whatever, the guy who's just a massive scam guy who's like, oh, I was in the Navy SEALs, whatever it is, or Delta Force, and I was like, I had a Medal of Honor and all that bullshit. But the guy who wears like the balaclava, and he's just like got creepy music playing in the background while he goes like, he looks to me like you know, in Manhunter or Red Dragon, like the killer and that, the Tooth Fairy. It looks like some guy you'd wake up and he's in your house before he like kills you or your entire family. What are you going to do with all those Bren mags, Preston? Yeah, YouTube recommendations are annoying, because the thing is, with YouTube, if they actually recommended you stuff close to the stuff you watch, they probably find you'd spend more time on YouTube, and thus they'd make more money through the advertisements, because you'd be watching stuff that keeps you interested. But when they just recommend you stuff that's, oh, we're recommending it because lots of other people watch it, but it's got nothing to do with your interests, I'm not going to watch it. Like, esports is the most boring thing I can think of. Why would I want to watch other people play video games? Like, I mean, I know I watch Mike do that on Twitch and that, but you know what I mean? Like, here's a game I'd never play, being played by people who seem very unlikable, and then they're playing this game versus other people. It's like, none of these factors interest me. That's cool, Preston. Yeah, load them into a Bren. That's a good point. Are they World War II era Bren mags, or are they later Bren mags at 7.62 NATO? Because they rechambered a lot of Brens later on for 7.62 NATO, and you could put the foul mags in them, or vice versa. I mean, it's kind of like Shed Ninja, isn't it, Weapon Collector? But if you mean like with Shed Ninja, if you watch Shed Ninja, you know he's doing a lot of that for a laugh and a joke. This guy's being totally serious. All right, see your typewriter. Oh, cool. So yeah, they're the World War II original type ones. See you, Steve. Are you on Twitch tonight, Mike, or you're not on tonight, or whatever? Just thought I'd ask while I'm on here. Cheers, Steve. As soon as the ECBA comes, I'll definitely show that in the stream, but I imagine that would probably be towards the end of next week. Depends how quickly they get it to the courier and everything. But yeah. So yeah, have a good night. My hands smell of chlorine from work. Like, they really, really strongly smell of chlorine. Which filter? Lots of filters work on a GP5 if they have a GOST thread or a standardized thread. NATO filters won't work on a GP5. Was that a Lindy Page video, Preston Cooper? Because that's the sort of shit Lindy Page likes to say. It depends. MG34 was better for some things. Brens are better for some things. They're not even the same class of machine gun. Oh, that's cool, Mike. I'll play a game then. But yeah, you'll watch Stalker and then you'll understand why they throw the bolts. I think in Stalker they've got like a handkerchief tied to them so they can see if it incinerates. As said, don't get overhyped by Stalker. I don't think you would anyway. You say like David Lynch's stuff. You'll get some people talk about what an amazing film Stalker is. Don't watch it for the story because there's barely any story in it. That's why I was a bit disappointed because I read Roadside Picnic and then immediately watched Stalker. And although I like the game Stalker and I like the book Roadside Picnic, I don't really like the film Stalker in the regard that it doesn't get the story across very well. If you want something that looks really cool and has a really cool soundtrack, you know, like quite a creepy symphony-y soundtrack kind of thing, with lots and lots of, you know, abandoned buildings and really good camera angles and stuff like that, you'd enjoy Stalker. But if you watched it for the story or whatever, you would not enjoy Stalker. The Bren was a lot more like something like the bar, Preston. I'm not sure how big the Glock pouches are, because I've got, obviously on my Osprey, it's got a couple of pouches on, but I've not really played around. But I imagine if it's a pistol magazine size pouch, this would fit in quite easily. Some of the smaller through night flashlights would definitely fit in, but I imagine this would. Just to give you a size comparison, let's just take that mag out of there a second without ripping the poster. Makes me quite nervous doing this. The mag's locked in. No, it's because it literally is ripping the poster. Brilliant. Right, there we go. So for a size comparison, I don't know how well that's going to show up because my hand's not totally flat, but similar height to an SLR mag. Obviously a little bit fatter, but yeah, if you compare it at that angle. Does that give you a good idea of size? Yeah, cool. And again, it's hard to actually lock the mag in properly. There we go, when it's on the wall like that. Oh, there goes my World War II mask I'm destroying now. But yeah, if you wondered why I don't like taking stuff off the wall display, for the people who keep saying get this down, get that down, that's the reason why, because I nearly ripped the poster then trying to get the SLR mag on because a little bit of the poster was catching on it. But yeah, so that's just a 20 round, I think it's the standard like NATO Stanag type one, isn't it? Because I'm pretty sure they were the same mags that still work in the Scar H apparently. Unless that was the, that's actually probably the metric fouls, isn't it, rather than imperial fouls, but they'd be pretty similar in size. But yeah, if you have a 20 round battle rifle mag, that would definitely be pretty comparable to a lot of torch sizes. I don't know why you're going no. Can I disassemble the magazine? Well, even if I could, I'm not going to. There you go. I'm not getting it down again. I don't have a VM40 near me. I've got a VM37 and a VM40, but they're not even stored in this room. There's pictures, Vince, where with the Scar H, not the Scar L, the Scar H, there's the old Rhodesian mags in the Scar H's, so they definitely fit. And I've seen videos of people shooting Scar H's on YouTube with the old FN FAL mags in them. Because with a load of the NATO rifles, they had standardized mags. And because 7.62 NATO, you know, cheers, Preston. Yeah, sadly they've actually put a load of stuff on Preston recently, which are a lot cheaper, as in like the £200 to £300 range. I imagine if you fit a Nintendo DSS, though, it won't shoot. But let me see if I can find you a picture of that before I go off, because I'll be going off in a few minutes. Scar H FAL mag. Because you can actually see... I don't know if people put, like, rubber bands around it or whatever for it to fit properly. But... that's not actually... I'm trying to find a picture on Google now, but I've definitely seen pictures of doing it. People doing it. At the moment, the issue is I'm having just people like, because Google Image Search works, there's lots of pictures of FALs and scars next to each other. But I have definitely seen videos of people shooting and images of people with scars with the FAL mags in them. Loads and loads of airsoft shit coming up as well that's not related to it, but yeah, I'm pretty sure there was a video I definitely saw where a guy had some old Rhodesian FAL mags with, you know, the weird paint on them the Rhodesians used to put on the FAL mags. And he had like modern Scar mags, and then he was going through a load of the old FAL mags, and they look exactly like those, and then shooting those and dropping them out as well. GP5M, I've already got a GP5M, it's there, and I've got a Polish MUA, so I don't need those masks, if that's what you're on about. You can get a GP5M, Polish ones. I've done videos on cheap masks, so I'd recommend watching that. That's cool, Steve. Is that one of the ones that has like that shape like that, angled flashlight, where Mike always says it reminds him of the Vietnam War whenever he sees those flashlights? I've never had one of them. I quite like the look of them, but for whatever reason, I've never ended up getting one. All right, see you, Bents. I assume in Hungary it's either 10.55 at the moment or 9.55, isn't it? But I imagine it's 10.55 because you're sort of the same. No, I don't know what you're on about. Sorry, Rich. You can put a link in though if you want, because obviously you're a mod, but I'm not quite sure what you mean by that. Oh, look who's turned up again. It's the butthurt Nazis. How's your Führer doing? Oh wait, he lost. If you wouldn't have seen that because it was a message held for review and I've just blocked him, but it's one of those butthurt Nazis coming back on. You know, going, you suck dick because you know, Heil Hitler, I guess. What do you mean, what's the newest gas mask? The most modern mask I own or the most recent purchase of a mask? Here's the funny thing about Hitler, right? Be a white supremacist, talk about how good white people are, kill the most white people in history. Whoops. Yeah, I'm only going on about this a bit because I'm finishing the stream in a minute because I wouldn't normally feed the trolls and that, but you know, I find it funny just when the Nazis come on talking about how great, you know, Nazi Germany was, and then whoops, they fucked everything. Most recent, as in like the most recent one produced or the most recent I bought? Because that's not most recent I bought. Do you mean? Let me have a think. That's interesting. Is it a full size one, Richard? Because I have a lighter that looks like a miniature shotgun, but that's just obviously about that big. It's not full size. I've seen a couple of pistol lighters that are quite cool, but they're pretty chunky, and I don't know what the UK Rift Law would say about those. The UKara. Most recent I bought, right? Thank you for clearing that up. I'm trying to think now. Actually, I think it would just be the ROU saying that. Although technically this isn't a gas mask, although it will give you some protection from gas. Oh yeah, it looks like a 1:1 scale. Yeah, mine definitely isn't that. But yeah, this isn't technically a gas mask, although it has a charcoal layer. It's a radioactive particulate mask. It's close enough for what you're asking. Russian ROU mask. Right, if anybody's got any final points, they're free to bring them up. French one. Oh, yes, you're right. Sorry, my mistake. You've not even seen this properly, have you, yet? Did I even show it on the stream? I don't know if I showed this on the stream. Right, I'll be on a few more minutes. Yeah. Thank you, Evan. Was that from Patreon you saw that? Because, yeah, I don't know if I even showed this on the stream. Although it won't fit me properly because I need to refit a part because there's one big flaw of this mask. Will go into the video. But the straps on this are like the MP5s, but they have these weird metal bands that keep the strap in place. One of them pinged off totally when I was trying to adjust the strap. Still got a sealed filter with it. So there's that. Yeah. So you've seen it from there. The weird thing with this, I'll go into this in the video, some of the inner bit is like hard plastic. Hear that? It might be rubber, but they've made it like really hard on purpose as a chin seal, which is kind of cool. And like that bit, where other bits of it are obviously like flexible rubber. So it's kind of cool how they've done that. The MP5 doesn't do that. It's a very, very nice bag with this mask. It's kind of like the S10 style haversack, but made from a completely waterproof material that's a bit bigger. But yeah, so this strap has the connector on still, see? So that one's fine. This strap doesn't. I think I found it after like a few hours, and where I gave up looking for it, and then it turned up. Well, see, this one I can't tighten properly without putting a cable tie on or whatever. But there you go. That's the French one with a nonsense name. I can't remember. It weirdly says MRE in a couple of places on this. I can remember that because that's me all ready to eat, which I think is just a weird coincidence. But yeah, if you know the Polish MP5, that's a licensed copy of this mask. Exact same drinking tube connector system. But yeah, it's kind of cool. ARFA. Thank you, Chris, because I forget the name. Yeah, that's a joke I'm going to make, Mike. Whenever somebody says, have you got any MREs or do you collect MREs or anything like that, I can go, look, there's my MRE. So it says MRE2 on that. But weirdly, I don't think, Chris, it says ARFA anywhere on the mask. I know not all masks have their own names on them, but you'd have thought, wouldn't you, that somewhere on it they'd actually have something like that written. I'll have to do a side-by-side comparison when I do this to the MP5. This is definitely higher quality than the MP5, but I still don't think the MP5 is bad. I don't know. Saying that, I reckon it's a different kind of material there. I don't think this is polyurethane like it is on the MP5, because this feels a lot less flexible. It looks a bit different as well. Okay, AMPVP1. So Alien versus Predator 1. Joking. Or Player versus Player 1. And the RFA. I still don't forget all these names until I actually have to literally look them up as I do the videos, because it's just not a very good name to roll off the brain. But yeah, I can definitely do a voice chat on the Discord at some point. It's just knowing when to do it. And we'll have to set a time for it, because the problem I've had before when I've done voice chats with the people on there is where I'd say, like, in advance, I'll probably go on Discord on a certain evening to do it. And then people complain at me later on that I wasn't on because they thought it was evening in their time. So I have to just say a thing. I won't do it as on the stream, though, so people don't have to worry about saying anything offensive they want to on mic. But yeah, we'll have to do that at one point. I'm sure I can do it one day this week. But yeah, I'll make sure I put like British summertime or whatever, BST. Although we'll be out of BST in October, won't we? Anyway, it's not even that long because it will be. It's getting colder now already. What's that poster? What, the big one? Soviet civil defense masks, and there are a lot of the masks. Well, that one's flipped around. I'll have to sort that out after the stream. Bloody Y2K, U2K. Anyway, I'll go off now. So there's that. The other interesting thing is with this satchel, it's got a big plastic thing in the bottom, so it keeps its shape. You can take that out if you want to, but it's kind of cool. It's got one of those in the bottom, I think. Gives the satchel a bit more weight, but obviously it means that you've got something that keeps it all together in one shape. I wish more satchels had that, actually. So you can't crush the satchel by accident. Anyway, I'll put this away. Yeah. If you know the Polish MP5, basically the same mask as the Polish MP5 is a licensed copy of this mask. But yeah, it's kind of interesting to have a mask in tan, because other than my M51 and my Belgian L702, whatever it's called, I can't remember the name of that now. A lot of hidden compartments in this bag as well. I think that's just from manual, isn't it? So you could stash something in there. Loads of compartments in there. Very useful bag. Anyway, I'm going to go off now, but I was just going to say, if you ever wanted a good satchel kind of bag for the people that asked, this would be a really good bag for that if these were ever sold for like £15 or under separately. The back section is like that. The Polish MP5 bag isn't exactly the same as that, is it? Because the Polish MP5 bag's not meant to be anywhere near as good from what I've heard. Let me just have a quick look before I go off, even though I keep saying I'm going off, but you've got me interested now. You're right, it looks pretty similar, but loads and loads of people complained about the MP5 bag, why this seems a very good bag. That's strange. Because some of the pictures coming up for Polish MP5 satchels look different than the others as well. So I guess they didn't all do one series of satchels for it. I guess there was a couple of variations. But yeah, strange. No, as I said on Twitch last night, Twitter last night, Mike, I didn't end up watching it last night just because I ended up not being in the mood to watch a film after the stream. But I'll watch it next time I want to watch a film. Yeah, it might be that, Evan. It might be that earlier on they just had like a straight up licensed copy of the French bag, and then it might have been later on the bags people didn't like or whatever was when Poland sort of did a cheaper variation of it or something, or just a different kind of satchel. Because the bag my MP5's in is actually the MP6's bag that came after it for whatever reason. And then apparently people were saying the MP6's bag is better in some ways and then not in others. But anyway, I'm going to keep going on and on and on this, right? So thanks for watching, everybody. Thanks for the donations to the people that donated. I'm going off now. Good night.